for mobile value-add services. And for mobile operators, they work in 24 countries, serving 650 customers. Dinesh Saparamadhu was living for 10 years in the United States, worked with Pepsi Cola and Aetna Life, and so forth. He is also the chairman emeritus of Sluscom, IT and BPO chamber in Sri Lanka. Will be talking to us about developer ecosystems. So please welcome Dinesh Saparamadhu.
Thank you, Tommy. Good afternoon, and it's great to be here. And I was telling the ICTA team when I came in a little while ago, it's great to see such a great audience. And I'm privileged to be here. And I want to talk to you today, kind of extending what Dr. Hans was talking about on the whole m-commerce and how we see the world compared to building developer ecosystems. Give you some statistics, and these are all great statistics, 25 billion, 29 billion from IDC, from Gartner. What it says is that the whole mobile app phenomenon is a great phenomenon. But the challenge, if you see in the developed markets, these are the applications that are being downloaded. In the developing markets, these are the applications that are being used. And the key difference is this: you pay, and the rest of the stuff you actually download free. So, as developers building applications in the mobile platforms, how do we address this challenge? We are being in mobile business, of application business, for close to about 10 years now. And we have a lot of experience in Asia and Africa. I'll tell you a story. Recently, we have an aggregator in Africa. They're building applications on a payment platform that's been given by us. And like Dr. Hans mentioned, these are applications that are relevant to people's lifestyles. So this could be school applications, taxis, booking airfares, paying utility bills. And he actually built a great application. I don't think it's relevant to Sri Lanka, but this is very much relevant to Kenya. The application is called Tracking Your Child. What that means is, in the morning, when the school bus comes, they stop on one lane and actually pick up all the kids. Then, in the evening, they come and drop you. The application they developed has a GPS on the school bag. And when they get dropped off, it uses a bulk SMS for the people in that particular lane. And that goes to the parents. They look at it, and it has a URL. You click on it, you go to the Google Maps, and you can actually see your child going from the bus to the house. And this application, they charge 20 shillings every time you use it. So that's a great m-commerce application. So these are the applications that we want to see that's been built in this system. So if you look at, take Sri Lanka, we actually want to talk about building two types of applications. Applications that have been built with these utility applications, and the second type of application we are talking about, relevance. What do we mean by relevance application? Take, for example, the golf fort application. This is an application that is relevant to golf fort. If somebody goes there, you download this application. It talks about things that you can do during that vicinity. Restaurants you can go to, things you can go and visit. For an application like this, people will pay. So one of our key objectives as building developer ecosystems is to build relevance applications. I think that's what mentioned even the previous speech. How do you go and build relevance application? For you to go and build relevance application for that particular community or to a particular market, you need to have local knowledge. You need to have local knowledge. You need to know what are the pain points of these communities. So that's how these ideas can be generated. Then do you build the applications, or do you work with a developer community to build those applications? Part of the things that we are doing is building a developer ecosystems where ideas can be matched. You can actually put it up saying, you know, this is a great app. This is something that I want to do because it's needed by our community. We match it with the developers who can build that. You actually marry those two, and then you actually come up with a great app. Similar to Sri Lanka, your apps in India, which are very relevant apps, similarly in China. In China, you have the applications for Facebook, or whether it's for Twitter, their own versions, which is relevant to that particular market. So building relevant community applications are very key for if you want to kind of build a community of developers that can actually bring the whole end commerce market together. So we looked at this and said, okay, how do we do this? I'll explain to you the model that we have been using in Kenya and explain that. But from a very high level, what we realize is that for you to be able to build application rapidly and to have hundreds of developers to come and build application, you need to change the business model of how it was built before. Earlier, the traditional way was that you had a great idea, maybe you have to build, you need to go to an operator, you need to talk to operator and say, okay, could we kind of bring this application? That's fine if it was one or two. But just imagine you're going to have tens and thousands of developers that are going to come and build these applications. Operators will not have the capacity or the bandwidth to be able to look at this. Because the first thing they would ask is, you know, how many of this will succeed? What is the ROI that we are going to get? So to take that abstraction and to bring that to a level and say, okay, we will provide a platform that you can build applications, test those applications, look at how it works, do certain market studies with your friends and with your community, then you go back to the operators and say, okay, this is something I have, could you give us the connectivity to an operator network? I think that becomes a more doable than going with every application to the operator. So we built this platform and we said, okay, we are going to actually expose the developer community APIs. We will expose the APIs, we'll give you the SDKs, ability to test these applications, and you can actually go back to the operators, and you know, getting into an operator network becomes much easier. What does that do? It actually gives you to build thousands and thousands of applications. How many of that will succeed depends on the market. And so you can now build an application that is relevant to Gaul or to Kandy, to Hambantota, to Jaffna, and you may build your communities around that. Will that application take off and become a, you know, $1 million application? It may not. But what you did was you built an ecosystem of applications that is relevant to that particular community or to that particular geography that you're talking about. So then what we did also with that, we said, okay, now the first part of the applications are going to be built. We'll have network assets built into those. And then we need to take it to the next level of looking at payments. So similar thing that we did in Kenya, we actually got them connected to M-Pesa. I think most of you who are in the mobile industry know the success of M-Pesa. So M-Pesa is actually the largest mobile money transfer happens in whole of Eastern Africa. It's only done in Kenya. So we built kind of on top of M-Pesa, Orange Money, Airtel Money, and we exposed those APIs out for developers to go out and build the next generation payment applications. So what happened? We saw the track your child application. We are seeing quite a bit of shopping applications. We are seeing a whole developer ecosystem being built of building relevant applications. There are applications that have been done just for Mombasa. There are applications that are done for game parks. When you're going into a game park, you can download this particular application, you know what is happening in that particular game park. And for how much do you pay? You pay maybe, like mentioned, these are all micro payments, maybe 20 shillings, 30 shillings, very, very small payments. But what it did was it built a whole developer ecosystem. And the key is these applications can go from the bottom of the pyramid to the top of the pyramid. So it actually built your applications with your, for the top of the pyramid, it could be your Visa, Master, or the internet payment connectivity. It could be your banks, and it could be your vouchers. Now they started using, they have a, what called a ticketing voucher. Once you update that information, it goes to your ticket voucher, then you can actually purchase tickets from that. And all this needs to be for all these phones. It needs to go through your bottom of the pyramid, whether it's your SMS, USSD, WAP, Symbian, BlackBerry, Android, everything. And we have seen a community that is getting built and building applications that have real business models behind. I think Dr. Hans talked about it. Why has this not been taken off in these markets? I think for us, we realized it being application developers for so many years. The applications that you would use, you could download. I think how many of you download maybe 3-4 apps a week or even a day, but how many of those apps do you use regularly? Very few. If you look at my iPad, I may have maybe about 150 apps, but how many of you use it on a regular basis? For you to have m-commerce to become a reality, or to make it's something that is going to be continuously used, you should be able to use it regular basis. So what are the things that you use regular basis? Whether you pay for your utility bills, whether it's your shopping, or the applications that are going to come out of these developers that we may not even know, because they are relevant for that particular community, and that's how the ecosystem can be built. So I look at the operators as the greatest opportunity here. Why? Because the operators actually owns a lot of network assets. They know the subscriber behaviors. Now, once you start opening this up, you are sitting on a gold mine. Once you start opening this up and getting the developers to come together, you can actually build a great ecosystem. And this is an ecosystem, I think, if you do, we can go into that 100x opportunity. I'm sure there are going to be companies that are being spawned out of these relevant applications in your own market, and that can become 100x opportunities. We have seen that in the last couple of years. I think in the slide that in Sri Lanka we showed, there have been a couple of developers who started, I think they started maybe 3 years ago when we had the first South Asian mobile conference, and then and today they actually are running small mobile companies building applications. So that's what I think is the opportunity, is for you to build applications that gives you day-to-day occurrences, that you should be able to kind of use these applications, and for that application you will pay for it. It's not for the applications, for the majority of the market. We have to look at the middle of the pyramid, the bottom of the pyramid. For the middle of the pyramid and the bottom of the pyramid, applications should come from those communities that are in those segments. It's very difficult for us to come and look at and say, okay, this is what we are going to build, this is going to be the great application. No, those ideas need to kind of be generated from those segments of the market. So that's my message today, is to show the opportunity that you have in the from the application developer's perspective, and how we can actually build a cohesive e-commerce ecosystem if we get these two groups together and being able to kind of put that together and build a great ecosystem for m-commerce applications. So thank you very much for your patience listening.
Please have a seat. Yes, thank you. And now to have the third, to fulfill the loop, if we've looked at the operator and we've looked at the platform provider well, let's now see the look from a developer who has come up with a rather interesting way to use our existing technology today and enter